Our text box looks neat, but having it just sit there in the town isn't terribly useful, especially since we sort of have it nestled in amongst the other objects. Let's learn how we can create a text box when we need it. For example, when we get close to an NPC, and how we can change the text that it displays. So open up your game room, and if you don't have a tab open at the top, you can always grab it from the asset browser here, and delete that text box instance that we dragged in here. We don't need that here anymore. Next, let's open up your player object, obj_player. Now, we've been using the step event in our player to do all sorts of things, but in this case, we're actually going to add a new event and allow that event to test our text box for us. So in the object editor for your player, click Add Event and choose Key Pressed space. Now remember, a key press is just the moment you hit a key. It's not holding it down, it's not releasing it. It only happens once when you press a key down. So that's the one we want. If you've chosen the wrong event by accident, you can always right-click and delete it and try again. Or you can right-click and choose Change Event and choose what you meant instead. Note that when you change an event, it doesn't delete any code, it just changes the actual event. So that's a handy way to get around. With your new event created, let's go ahead and edit some code. So I'm going to just create a quick description here. And I'm going to make a new line and add in a simple code block. I'll call it create a text box. Now the first thing we need to do here is do a check. We want to create a text box every time we hit the space bar, but we don't want it to make an infinite number of text boxes. So first we're going to check and see if there's a text box already existing. If not, then we can go ahead and make a new one. So to do this, we're going to use an if statement. So we'll type if, and I'm just using parentheses to keep my code organized. I'm going to type in the exclamation mark, which of course means not. So if instance exists. So you can see this function is a built-in one in GameMaker. I'm just going to go ahead and select that. And I'm going to type in the object I'm looking for here. So obj_textbox. And I'll create open curly braces and close curly braces. So what this line says is if there is not already an instance of the obj text box. So if that's the case, let's do something. So we're going to create an instance, meaning we're just going to create, one of our objects into being. It's almost like dragging it from the asset browser into the room, but we do it through code. So I will type instance create. And you'll notice in the autocomplete, there are two options here. We want the one that says depth, not layer. We'll get to that one at another time. And there are a few arguments we need to fill out. We'll just type in X, Y, and just for the depth, we'll type in negative 10,000. And we're going to tell it to create a text box object. So if there isn't already an instance of text box or obj_text box, then create a new one, create object text box. Do so at the X and Y position of the player, because this is the object that's calling this code. So that's what X and Y refers to. And do so at a depth of minus 10,000. Now remember, depth is the distance of an instance from the camera in GameMaker Studio 2. So the lower the number, the closer to the camera it is. And the lowest it can go is about 16,000, negative 16,000. So hopefully this will put our text box right up close to the camera so it will not get overlapped by other elements in our scene. So once you have this, let's go ahead and run our game and test this out. Now if you press the spacebar, you should be able to create a text box. It's just going to sit there wherever we created it, so it's not going to follow us around or track with the camera or anything like that, but it does work. If you press the spacebar more than once, nothing else should happen, which is what we want. We don't want to be able to create an infinite number of text boxes. Anyway, when you're done here, you can go ahead and close the window and let's move on.